Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US indices for Thursday, November the 24th, and happy Thanksgiving to folks in the US, and I hope you have a lovely weekend. The S&P here, let's just take a look at a few. I was going to have a look at the volume, but it's kind of a little bit pointless because of the holidays in a sense, so it's not really going to be that sort of helpful. But it is interesting, we're at the 50% here, and we've got a nice bounce off that 50%. So that's one thing. We might just place that in there with the 61.8% over here as well, and just talk about this for a little moment. It is possible to have this as an ABC pattern here. Okay, so it's possible that we can go into a bull market. One of the things that I've always mentioned is that if we found a nice tested support on top of the 4,000, because from this low here to that high to this low here, the 61.8% is pretty much spot on the 4,000 there. So anything sitting above that would be bullish at that point. We know that there's a lot of options as resistance sitting at around the 4.1 area here. So that's really our little target to the upside, roughly. Okay, so that's another little thing that we'll be taking on board. And now, just because the market pops its head above the 4,000, it doesn't mean that it's actually, tested support. As I mentioned before, over here, when we've come up, we've had the arrival, the reaction, the first high above the level, then it comes back and tests it. Now, that test could fail and it could come down further, but if it takes the top out here, then it's been tested, Of course, we can drop down and we can refine things and move in a little bit earlier, but we don't even have the first high above the level at this point. I mean, in this case, the first high was really high up here. It didn't really test it. When it came back to test it, it ended up failing at that point. So it wasn't secured at that point. Now there are other counts here too that we can look at this as. We could bring this C wave down to this point here. We could look at this move here as wave 1 and 2 here, and then 3, 4, 5. That's possible. We can also look at this as another B wave over here and just look at 5 waves down from that point. So a bit of equality between this one and this one. There's a few different ways you could look at that in terms of different WXY patterns, basically a double zigzag, if you will. So yeah, I mean, there's different ways of viewing it all, but whichever way, you want to eat your sandwich, it's pretty much, I still always come back to this number here and ask myself, because if I go to do a trade, I want to know what the closest largest number is, and I have to ask myself, is that being tested as support or resistance, and then make a move on it at that point. So I'm aware of, all the counts, and I don't care about being right or wrong. I just care about making money. So I'm not a greedy person. I'm happy with my lot and happy to die and all those sorts of things. So I'm very comfortable within my skin, but I need the right setup here, and we don't have it yet, but we're close. Okay, so let's just continue to talk about this. So on the daily chart here, we do have this little trend line coming, not little, but pretty humongous really, coming through here. It kind of cuts through onto our 4.1 target. So we will be looking at this in a bullish light and also in a bearish light as well, this thing. So as I just mentioned, this move up here can be wave 2, or it can be a B wave in terms of a bear market down here, right? So all we have to do at this point is look at this as 1 and 2 here, 3, 4 here, and then a little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 going up here. So when this finishes up here, let's just say that it hits the trend line and everything is beautiful for a moment. And then once this will be this particular pattern here, I call this the arrival, the reaction, and then the first high above the level. So it's really this pattern here, which is the most common pattern, the arrival, the reaction. We're in this first high above the level, which is in 5 waves. So we need all this over here to go long, over here to go long, any of these highs over there. So we don't have that yet. So we're still in that we're still in that move up there is in 5 waves. It's normally the 3rd, 4th and 5th that comes into that. So really we need we can refine this particular pattern that I'm talking about now. But what we want is we want that top there to be breached. We can normally bring it down further at this point and look for a long trade on that point, because this move down here would be wave 1, or it will be wave A. This would be wave 2 going down further, or wave B, and then wave C here. Now on the bearish side, if it's going to be corrective, it will be 3 waves. So really anything below 3 waves we can look to go short at that point. Now we can refine these long positions, and we can build in longs here and on top here, and we can get better short positions than this as well. But this is just the shell, the outside shell of the pattern, because it comes back to this medium level is 4,000 here as being the support or not being the support. It's as simple as that. And then we'll always get a retest of this here. I mean, basically when this comes down to here, when it hits 4-1 here, and if it does come back, let's just assume that it does for a moment, you know, the bounce is going to come from that point. That's where the first bounce is going to come from, not down here. But we'll refine all of this later as we move forward with all of this. So today we're going to go and have a look at this in a bit of detail. This is the bearish count. We'll be looking for this last move to the upside here, and then it's going to roll over. Now in this rolling over here, we'll look at it. There'll be a bit of a blind spot here for a while. I like to see if the first leg that comes down is in 5 waves or 3 waves. And in both cases it really should be 5 waves, but we'll see. But we're going to have a look at the bullish count, and the bullish count you know, I've had another look at the bullish count, and I found another way to count it, which I'm kind of a little bit more happy about, rather because I was never happy with the leading diagonal triangle here in this move here, because of the last structure in here wasn't in 3 waves, it was in 5 waves, looking at all of this. So we're going to go in and have a look at that. Now on the I will go, just let me check on the 50k. We normally start on the 50k. So yeah, just here we're looking for 1, 2, there'll be 3, 4 in here somewhere. We'll look at this in detail, we'll really nut that out, and we'll start paying attention to all of this in here, because this B wave is where we can go long here at that point once this leg here is finished. But we want to move into the 20k and have a look at a way to look at it as a bullish count to the upside. So this is slightly different. So we're looking at the bottom here as 4 or 2. Don't worry about that. That needs to be reconciled just yet soon. Yeah, so as a bullish move to the upside, I've counted this a little bit differently here, and I kind of like it really. It's looking at this as 1 and 2 here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for the wave 1 and back for the wave 2. And the reason I like this has come back, you know, 50-60%, and then from here roughly to here we also come back into the 61.8% area, close enough anyway. So it makes a nice 1 and 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 up here. It doesn't really disturb our count in terms of going long again, because we'll be going long above here, but we'll also be looking for a little tiny classic trading levels pattern on here to build on as well. But it does present a different case of 1 and 2 here, and going all the way up for wave 3 way up here for this, sitting up top of group 1. So 1 and 2 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here for the 3rd wave, the 4th wave, and then the 5th wave up here, which then that would make wave 1 up here and coming back for wave 2 at that point. So a much, you know, bigger, bolder move to the upside on this case. So this is just another way that to look at this that I thought I wanted to share, so you can pick holes in it over the holiday break. And yeah, but like I said, it doesn't really matter, because we're still going to get this particular pattern coming into play here for this, you know. Okay, so we're going to go back to our normal pattern, which I think I'm not sure which intraday charts I've updated, but we'll just work through them. So this is it here. So we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then 1 and 2 that we had yesterday, and we're looking to go up for wave 3. Now wave 3 can actually go up here a little bit higher, but I want to talk about this in a bit of detail here. So we'll do that in a minute. But the obvious thing here, you can see that we've got wave 1, we've got wave 2, we need wave 3, 4 and 5 here. We know there's a lot of options sitting at this number here, so that's going to offer a nice resistance. And the other point that we need to make too, because the flip side of all of this is the money, is the US dollar here. So with the US dollar here, as soon as we started to turn, we had wave 3 here. I mean, it's such a beautiful structure coming down here as 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and we got the turn eventually, and we're looking down. So we're looking down, as I mentioned, when we got the turn here, we're looking down for about 3 to 4 days here. But obviously the holidays chuck in a bit of a spanner in the works. But I take this as 3 or 4 days because that's really what wave 1 took here. There's a weekend in this space as well, but so that gives us that 3 or 4 days. Now, when we get to this low down here, that's when the US dollar will. I mean, that's when the indices will top out, and the pound and the euro and those sorts of things, Now don't worry about this wave 4 either, or this wave C here. That also needs to be worked out as well. So we could certainly come down much further, so don't worry about that. But it's just a possibility, just another count that I'm playing with. I like to look at both sides of the market equally. But yeah, so it does give you a bit of a timing event on all of this, so you think, well, shit, that's quite a long way to go, isn't it? So that would be the same really for the S&P. And normally when we come back from holidays, when the US folks come back from holidays, they're normally sort of pretty jolly, and we normally see them coming in and buying. So that's what I'm sort of thinking, really. They'll come in and buy and give it a push up. So we might even push through that for one here for this. So we might go up a bit further in all of this. So let's just cruise in a bit further. Let's see what we've got on the 5K here. So we talked about going long here in a few of these markets. So just stay long here for the moment, because we don't see wave 4 here just yet, I could look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then I just had a bit more of a look at it. So anyway, expect it to have another retest here because of the holiday break in that case, but we can take it up further. And let me just go into 1000 ticks here. So this is just looking at it in a little bit more detail. So our reference is this wave 4 down here. We looked for wave 1, coming back for wave 2 here in all of this, so that's all good. This is just taking the length of wave 1 here and then just adding it to wave 2 low here. That will give us an extension area of 1618 up here for wave 3. So it is possible for wave 3 to come up. This is the 4-1 here. It is possible for it to come up into this space. But we'll just go step by step in terms of counting this to the upside as wave 2 here to wave 3 here. I was looking at it in terms of wave 1 here and 2 here, and then just spreading this out a little bit here. So from wave 2 here going up to wave 3 here, this wave 3, and then wave 4, and then wave 5 here. So we probably won't go that far because wave 1 was kind of short, the extension's in wave 3, so wave 1 and 5 will be roughly the same, but that's never the case if wave 3 is going to extend out. We can normally look at wave 5 being 61.8% of the length of wave 3, but take that with a pinch of salt too, because these things can be hauntingly accurate and horribly wrong. Where are we here? So if I took that there, just a bit of a yardstick way of doing things. So it's possible to go up basically up into around this space here. So for that, but yeah, so 1 and 2, 1 and 2, and then 1 and 2, 1 2 3 4 5 for third, fourth, fifth for third, fourth, fifth, third, fourth. Yeah, I mean, that's there is 1 2 3 4 5 just here. I mean, they could certainly push up here higher, by the way, because we've got 5 waves here. If that top gets taken out, that little top here gets taken out. I mean, we could have an ABC pattern here as well, but tested support on top of group 1, if you know your trading levels 10, 20 and 30, if there's a tested support on top of that, then it's going to push up to the 5 at that point, and then I'll need to look at this as 1 and 2 here, and going up for 3 4 5 and extending this blue wave 5 up higher at that stage. But that's our target area up here. The levels are Fibonacci sequence is 1 2 3 5 and then 8 here, and we talk about 8, we talk about group 2 in here, and that's where we'll be looking for this to play out here. This can be wave C up here, or we can look at it as wave 3, we can look at it as wave 1, all of that. But basically what we're looking for in the bigger picture, as I mentioned, we're looking for from wave 4 down here, 1 2 3 4 5 up here, and then an A, B, C over here. So we've got plenty of time over here to chat about things and talk about things, as we will. We'll be talking, you know, we'll be talking long trades, short trades, we'll be talking everything over here. So this is going to be a bit of a fascinating sort of area over here. I reckon that will probably come in on that high, I'd say. So that's probably a bit high, and we'll get something like this, but that will leave our long we can turn bullish at that point. But we also need to be considering bearish as well. So as I mentioned in the nutshell, anything below the 3 waves here, then we can look at being short. But it's never as easy as that, actually. It's a bit more complicated. So there will be blind spots in here. There'll be spaces where we don't know what's going on, but at the same time, we don't need to care about what's going on, because the trick is to allow the market pattern to mature before we go in and start, you know, throwing money on the table. If you're trading long up here, then obviously we obviously you can see wave 1 and 2 here. We can see this is the 3rd wave. We don't see wave 4 yet in here. Do you know what I mean? We don't see some complicated correction in here, and we don't see wave 5. So we can stay long, just keep your stop out of the way. You don't need a stop in a market in this situation. You know, I know that's not a good thing to say, but when you lose money, it's basically from stop losses, isn't it? So you could rethink that concept a little bit more. Anyway, let's cruise along now. We're going to look at the NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ's in the same sort of boat. I'll just keep it simple, but 1 2 3 4 here. We could put 4 over here as well, but we'll just see how we go. We're looking at 1 and 2 here. There is a bearish case here for the NASDAQ because Amazon is holding to the downside. Tesla's holding to the downside, but Apple's moving to the upside. So either way, I think we'll still move out and we'll continue to move up into this space here. But this is a bit of a tortured soul at the moment, because there is weakness and strength across the board in those tech stocks. But yeah, just tuning this into this wave 4 here, and this wave 1 is lining up with the, even though it's not a fantastic wave 1 here, but it is lining it up with the S&P, because the timing of the top will be, of the next high will be important, because they will top together in that regard. And the Russell is one that's shown a bit of weakness in that, in 2 points here. If with the other markets we've got wave 4 sitting here, but obviously as a wave 4 it's going to overlap this move here, so that's not so crash hot. So that's a weak point. And the other point is that it is possible to look at this as 1 2 3 4 5 here. I know it's not very satisfactory in here, and we could sort of relabel it, but I just wanted to see how this would play out as the wave 1, the A, the B, and the C wave up here. We can go short at this point, so let's just see how this goes. If it, you know, if this B wave ends up being a wave 2 and this is like a 3rd wave that that pushes higher here, and then we get a nice fourth wave and a fifth wave and just take out the top here and then roll over, well, we'll handle that when we get there. But yeah, we're just a little bit cautious about this particular pattern here for this, so we'll just see how this plays out. But in the meantime, if this, well, in fact, if this low here is, if this number here, the 30 here, becomes the retested resistance, then we need to be building in a couple of short trades above the 18, the closest largest number, and then we'll start building on the other side here if that's going to be the case. But we don't know that yet, so I'm not going to short unless I know where the S&P is. The whole kit and caboodle of the global markets need to all move together. So the Dow Jones is doing pretty much what the S&P is doing in its own way. I've got it labeled a degree higher here, but it's okay. I mean, the 3, the 4, the 1 and the 2, the 1 and the 2 here. And then we've got, this is 3, 4, 5. So I still need, you can see here that this is the third wave here. This is wave 2 here, going sideways here. So we haven't seen wave 4 yet. So if you're still long in this particular trade here, then just stay long. We'll get further up here somewhere. We'll talk about that when we get back from the holidays, because we'll see lower volume in the futures market, diddle-daddling across sideways, and then Friday sort of should be low volume, and then when they come back from that will all create the wave 4, and when they come back they'll all come in and start buying, and once they're all in and there's no one else in there, well, then we'll get the correction at that point. That's it, folks. So thanks for tuning in, and like I said, enjoy the holidays. Cheers.